You sit down at a table, someone tears the plastic off a fresh deck of cards, and for exactly 5 seconds, you believe the world is completely fair.
Oh, yeah. It's that moment where every single player sitting around that table has the exact same mathematical chance of drawing the ace of spades.
Right. It is this fleeting moment of just pure, unadulterated potential. But what if I told you that the second those cards are dealt, the game stops being about fairness?
It completely shatters that comforting illusion we all kind of crave.
Yeah, because it becomes a brutal, perfect metaphor for the absolute unfairness of human existence.
We desperately want to believe that if everyone is playing by the same rules, the outcome is going to be just. But anyone who has ever picked up a terrible hand of cards knows the starting line is never actually even.
It really isn't. And welcome to our deep dive. Today we are looking at a translated 2019 essay by an author named Su Feng.
Yeah, it's titled Enlightenment Gained from Playing Poker Struggling Upstream.
Right. And what this essay does is take a simple deck of cards, specifically looking through the lens of a Chinese climbing card game called Struggling Upstream, or Lifechanyuan.
It turns it into an absolute masterclass on navigating life.
It really does. So our mission today is to explore how these game mechanics explain the random nature of our birth, the frustrating reality of bad luck, and ultimately the real secret to actually winning the game of life.
There are 9 profound parallels the author draws, and they are fascinating.
They really are. Okay, let's unpack this, because to really understand the depth of what the author is saying, we have to start right at the beginning, the initial deal.
Right, the foundational moment. The cards are distributed and you pick up your hand.
And you just have to deal with what you get.
Exactly. The author's observation here is stark. You cannot predict what you're going to draw, and it is entirely beyond your conscious control.
Yeah, you simply have to accept whatever ends up in your hand.
And the essay uses this as a direct mirror for our birth. You don't control the family you're born into.
Right, whether it's wealthy, impoverished, deeply supportive, or just completely chaotic.
Yeah, it is a completely random distribution of fate.
Well, and the essay pushes that idea even further, arguing that the cards you draw largely determine your result.
The source actually states that if you get a handful of genuinely terrible cards, a loss is almost guaranteed.
Yeah, which is tough to hear. It claims that it doesn't matter how superb your playing skills are or, how profound your wisdom is.
Your fate is basically sealed by the deal.
But I have to push back on the author here. Wait, isn't that incredibly depressing?
Oh, it sounds incredibly bleak at first glance.
I mean, the author's basically saying no matter how hard you work, if your starting conditions are bad, the result is tragic.
Yeah.
It's like training for a marathon, but starting 3 miles behind everyone else with rocks in your shoes. Why even bother playing?
What's fascinating here is that our modern culture conditions us to violently reject that idea.
We really do. We hate that.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
We are steeped in this narrative that relentless hard work can overcome absolutely any obstacle.
Right, the whole bootstrap mentality.
Exactly. But the author isn't trying to be pessimistic. They are offering a brutal, necessary realism about systemic disadvantages.
Okay, so it's not meant to induce despair.
Not at all. It is actually a psychological release valve. It's an invitation for you, the listener, to let go of the immense toxic guilt you might feel when things do not go your way, despite your absolute best efforts.
Oh, wow. So, sometimes you didn't actually do anything wrong.
Precisely. You didn't fail because you were lazy. You simply did not have the cards.
That is such a profound reframing. It really takes the sting out of a lot of personal failures.
It really does.
Yeah.
But the author flips this scenario too, which brings us to the third revelation.
Right. The illusion of the good hand. Let's say you do get the ideal initial deal. You were born into a privileged background, you have high intelligence, you have strong moral character.
You're holding the jokers.
Exactly. Common sense says you should breeze to a victory, right?
Well, common sense ignores the actual mechanics of the game.
Which we should probably explain. How does struggling upstream actually work?
So it's a climbing game. That means the goal is to empty your hand first.
Right.
But you can only play cards if they are higher in value than the cards the previous player just put down. And crucially, they have to match the pattern.
Okay, meaning if someone plays a single card, you play a higher single card.
Exactly. But if someone plays a sequence of 5 consecutive cards, like a 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, you have to play a higher 5-card straight to beat it.
Which completely changes the value of those jokers.
It totally neutralizes them.
You can be sitting there holding the 2 most powerful single cards in the deck, But if your opponents keep playing long straights or full houses or pairs, and you only have single high cards, you cannot legally intercept them.
You are completely paralyzed.
Yeah. You just have to sit there holding your absolute power, watching them drop card after card, and you never even get a turn.
And the source attributes this phenomenon entirely to luck. You possess superior conditions, but the context of the environment completely ruins your advantage.
The timing is just wrong.
Yeah, the sequence of events does not favor your specific type of power. The essay vividly describes this feeling of watching people who are ostensibly less powerful thrive, while you sit there secretly wiping away tears and lamenting your fate.
Unable to act at all. That completely shatters the myth of a pure meritocracy.
Oh, absolutely.
We are sold this idea that the smartest, most capable people will inevitably rise to the top. But, think about your own career. You could be the most brilliant coder in the world, but if the company suddenly shifts to a language you don't know...
Or a new manager comes in who values aggressive networking over quiet competence.
Exactly. Your jokers are totally useless. Your intelligence does not change the outcome if the environment doesn't allow you to play it.
It proves that success is this unpredictable alchemy. It requires the right starting conditions, personal skill, and uncontrollable timing.
So if the initial deal is totally out of our hands, and even a phenomenal hand can be ruined by bad environmental luck, the conversation naturally shifts to strategy.
Right. How do we actually play the cards we've been given?
Yeah, and the source introduces a concept here that I think offers a lot of hope for the underdog, which is the fourth point, the power of sequence.
This is where we see the limitations of raw power. The author observes that you can absolutely win a game with a totally mediocre hand.
Even with no jokers or big twos.
Right. No wild cards, no aces. But if the cards naturally flow into each other, if the order is good and they are well structured, you can slip out of the game effortlessly.
It's like having an incredibly average resume, but you happen to apply for the exact right job at the precise moment a company is desperate for a warm body, and suddenly you're the CEO.
Yeah, you just slip through unimpeded.
But the author notes this often provokes deep envy, right? Like hatred from people who consider themselves more worthy.
Oh, the people holding the unplayable jokers are furious. They feel cheated by the universe.
Because they had the better cards.
Exactly. But the person with the mediocre hand simply utilized the power of sequence. They recognize the flow of the game and let it carry them.
But, what happens when you don't have a good sequence and you don't have good cards? You're just staring at a terrible hand and desperation sets in.
This brings up the fifth revelation, the temptation to scheme.
Right. The game allows for petty tricks. You can try to peek at someone else's cards or hide a card or lie about what you have left to get ahead.
The author is highly pragmatic here. They acknowledge that cheating or playing dirty tricks absolutely increases your probability of winning in the short term.
The math works.
The mathematics of deception definitely work. But there is a catastrophic hidden cost.
Get caught.
Yes. If you are caught, the essay states you are permanently branded a card hooligan.
A card hooligan.
Yeah, people will look down on you from the bottom of their hearts.
And nobody will ever invite you back to the table.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it serves as a profound warning about how we navigate real-world ambition.
Like using unfair means to get a promotion.
Exactly. You can manipulate a relationship or cut corners to build wealth.
Yeah.
But the moment you are exposed, the stain on your character is indelible.
It's permanent.
The source emphasizes how difficult it is to ever restore a ruined reputation. You are doomed to spend the rest of your life in regret.
Because the temporary high of winning a single hand of cards is never worth being exiled from the game entirely.
Right.
A card hooligan in real life is someone who burned a bridge just to win a meaningless argument or stepped on a colleague to get a slight bump in pay.
It is an incredibly lonely way to exist.
It really is. But let's look at the flip side of that dynamic, which is point number 6. What if you aren't the one scheming? What if the table is quietly conspiring against you?
The conspirators. The essay uses a deeply visceral metaphor here.
Yeah, the fierce lion dealing with a pack of hyenas.
Exactly. It does not matter how powerful that lion is. It doesn't matter how thick its mane is or how sharp its claws are.
If 3 or 4 hyenas coordinate their efforts and attack from all sides simultaneously,
The lion is going to be worn down and eventually become hyena food.
and the source applies this directly to the card table. 2 or 3 players can implicitly agree to gang up on a single opponent.
Usually the strongest player. They will intentionally pass their turns just to let someone else block the leader. They coordinate their plays to drain the leader's resources.
And the mechanics of human envy and competition are identical in real life, right?
Oh, totally. No matter how incredibly competent you are or how unshakable your moral character is, you can still be rendered completely powerless if you fall prey to a group of conspiring scoundrels.
Think about a highly competent manager stepping into a new corporate department.
Perfect example.
If the existing employees who might be mediocre but are highly allied with one another decide they don't like the new standard being set, they can coordinate to sabotage projects.
They withhold information, whisper to upper management.
And the lion gets devoured.
It is terrifying.
Hmm.
You could be playing ethically, holding it each in hand, and still get destroyed, simply because the people around you decided you were the target.
Which highlights why competence alone is never enough to survive, right? You have to be acutely aware of table dynamics. Who is allying with whom?
You have to know if you are walking into a fair contest or a coordinated ambush.
Okay, so we are faced with this incredibly daunting reality. Luck is fickle. The starting deal is often totally unfair.
We can't cheat without ruining our lives.
Right, but the table might be rigged against us by a pack of hyenas anyway. How on earth do we actually exert our own will in this environment?
Well, the author argues we have to fight for our turn to speak, which is the 7th point. A concept they call gaining the floor.
Right, because remember, struggling upstream is about getting rid of your cards.
Therefore, the mathematics dictate that the more chances you get to play, the higher your odds of winning.
If you sit back passively and just watch others swagger around dominating the board, you'll inevitably end up at the bottom.
You cannot win through passive observation. You must enter the fray.
But as a proxy for the listener here, practically, how does a player actually do that? Like, be your own master sounds great on a motivational poster. But if we're stuck in the hyena pack, how do we force the game to let us play our hand?
You do it by seizing incremental opportunities to shift the momentum. You must find opportunities to be your own master.
So you don't just wait for the perfect moment.
No, you disrupt the current paradigm. If the table is playing straights and you don't have any, you look for the exact moment someone plays a low enough combination that you can finally drop a higher pair and take control of the board.
And then you dictate the new suit. You dictate the new pace.
Exactly. The source is explicitly warning us that if you blindly allow others to control your life without demanding the chance to make your own choices, you will remain at the bottom of the barrel forever.
You literally have to throw a card down and say, no, the pattern stops here. It is my turn.
It's about taking the reins to show your character and value.
Think about being in a meeting where everyone is talking over you, steering the project in a direction you know is going to fail. Gaining the floor means interrupting the flow, putting your idea on the table, and forcing the room to react to you for a change.
Precisely. You do not control the initial deal, but you must fiercely and unapologetically control your decision to participate in the rounds that follow.
Wow. We have been really deep in the weeds of the mechanics here. We've covered the unfairness of the universe, the paralyzed jokers, the temptation to cheat, and the danger of the hyenas.
We've explored exactly how the game is played.
But the author saves the most profound insight for last. They pull back the camera and shift the entire focus of the essay. We move from how to win to why we're sitting at the table in the first place.
This is where the essay transcends strategy and enters pure philosophy, the metagame of life.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The author states that this is the 8th and most important revelation of all. From the moment the plastic comes off the deck to the moment the final card is played, playing cards is, fundamentally, just a game designed to make us happy.
It sounds deceptively simple, but it completely upends all the anxiety and strategy we just discussed.
Right. We've been sweating over hyenas and terrible starting hands, and the author essentially pulls the rug out and says, why are you so stressed? This is supposed to be for your amusement.
The source points out that if you sit down at the card table, desperately needing to win, if your entire ego is tied to the outcome of this random distribution of cardboard, you have completely missed the point of the activity.
And the essay draws a direct, unforgiving parallel to the human experience here.
It does. If you play the game of life, desperately needing to impress other people, relentlessly chasing luxury mansions, hoarding power, or even obsessing over glorifying your ancestors.
You are what the author calls an unenlightened person.
Yes. The author's warning is incredibly stark. If you play life solely to accumulate those external markers of success, your life will end in tragedy. You will be the biggest loser.
The biggest loser. Even if you got the promotion or bought the mansion and defeated the hyenas.
because you spent your entire existence stressed out, agonizing over your bad cards, furious at the people who drew better sequences.
And you never actually enjoyed a single second of the experience.
Exactly. The accumulation of wealth or status is a completely false victory if the process of acquiring it brought you no joy.
But this introduces a really dangerous trap, which brings us to the ninth and final point of the essay. Someone might hear it's just a game designed for happiness and decide to embrace total apathy.
Right. They might think, okay, none of this matters. I'll just be cynical and detached.
But the source specifically forbids that, doesn't it?
It does. The author introduces this incredible duality, the saint and the child. You must play seriously. Apathy is not enlightenment.
Right. The essay enthusiastically lists the physical, emotional reactions you are supposed to have while playing. You should sigh heavily when you lose a hand.
You should laugh out loud when you pull off a great sequence.
You should shout. You should literally bang your fists on the table when the tension is high.
It's about refusing to stop participating in the joy of the game, even when you know it's an illusion.
It's like watching a horror movie. You know the monster is just an actor in a rubber suit. It's totally fake. But you are still eating the popcorn, gripping the armrest, screaming at the jump scares, and crying at the sad parts.
You are passionately emotional on the outside, but completely calm and secure on the inside.
Exactly.
This raises an important question for all of us. Can you embody that exact contradiction in your daily life? Can you, as the author beautifully phrases it, see through things as saints do and be naughty as children?
That is such a great line.
It really is. To ground this in reality, it means being the saint who recognizes that your bank account, your job title, and your social status are just temporary scores in an ultimately meaningless game.
But simultaneously being the child who still finds genuine, thrilling joy in the act of earning that promotion or competing in the marketplace.
A saint and a child sitting together at the card table.
The source claims that if you can achieve that delicate balance, you become a true master of the game. You become what the author calls a celestial who has attained Tao.
You have transcended the desperate, ego-driven need to win, but you haven't lost a single ounce of the vibrant joy of playing.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive looking at the rules of a Chinese card game, and we have ended up with a profound blueprint for dismantling existential dread.
It's quite a journey.
To synthesize everything Sufeng's essay is trying to teach us, we do not control the initial deal. We cannot control the circumstances of our birth, the systemic disadvantages we inherit, or the random environmental luck that dictates so much of our trajectory.
Sometimes our jokers get blocked by someone else's timing.
And sometimes we get cornered by a pack of hyenas. And the myth of a perfectly fair meritocracy is, well, just a comforting bedtime story.
But within that chaotic, inherently unfair system, our agency remains intact.
Right. We refuse the temptation to become card hooligans and stain our character. We actively look for the gaps in the sequence to demand our turn on the floor.
And most importantly, we redefine what victory actually looks like.
The ultimate victory isn't about hoarding the most points or wealth. It's about playing whatever bizarre, frustrating, beautiful hand we've been given with the passionate, detached joy of a game.
Absolutely.
For you listening right now, you might be looking at your current hand of cards in life. You might be staring at your career or your personal life, wishing you had drawn a joker.
Or feeling incredibly frustrated that someone else just played a straight you can't beat.
And you're feeling stuck, completely paralyzed at the bottom of the barrel.
If that is where you find yourself today, I want you to consider a radical perspective shift. Think about the people you envy the most right now. The ones with the good cards who seem to be winning effortlessly.
Yeah.
What if they are entirely miserable? What if they're living in a constant state of terror, desperate to protect their status, because they forgot they're just playing a game?
They missed the whole point.
They did. You possess a superpower they don't. You have the power right now to decide that your primary goal is simply to enjoy the act of playing, to bang your fist in mock frustration, to laugh at your own bad luck, to be fully vibrantly present.
If you do that, haven't you already won?
Exactly. You have won the very moment you remembered to enjoy the game.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your inner saint and your inner child alive. Remember to laugh at the terrible hands, and the next time life deals you a tricky set of cards. Remember, it's never about the cards you hold, it's about the joy you bring to the table.